First of all, I just want to thank you guys so much for all the support you've shown me over the past year or so that I've had my channel, because I mean this when I say it. None of this would be possible without y'all, so I'm just glad that you find some of the same stuff interesting that I do, and I can continue to make content like this for you guys. With that being said, I know this video is a bit delayed, but I wanted to go through all of the questions that you guys asked me on my 3,000 subscriber Q&A community post. Before we dive into the individual questions, once again, I just have to say thank y'all for all the kind words that you put in each of these comments. Some of y'all didn't even ask any questions and just commented really nice things, so I really appreciate that. And for those y'all that did ask questions but also gave me compliments, while I may not be reading those off in this video, I do really appreciate every single word y'all said. We're gonna do something a little bit crazy for this video, but I'm actually going to be sitting down for this one because there are a lot of questions and I want to make sure I get through all of them for y'all. So without further ado, let's jump into the questions. Okay, now that I'm sitting down and getting into these questions, I'm not exactly sure how YouTube chooses to order these all the time, so I'm going to start at the bottom and kind of work my way up. So I will be answering all of your questions, and just stick around for yours if you did ask one. And the first question I'll be answering comes from Anthony Venture. This is his first question of 2 that I believe he asked here, but the first one being, how do I become so good at basketball? Now, Anthony, all you have to do is actually grow to be about 6'6" like I am, as you well know. And then after that, you probably only need like a few years of training. So once you get to that height, go ahead and start training like that and you'll be great. But first of all jokes aside, I feel like I'm not actually that great at basketball anymore, but for those of y'all that don't know, I did used to play quite a bit all through high school and into college a little bit. Now, I didn't actually play for the University of Texas official men's basketball team, but I tried to do the most competitive thing after that UT offers, which is a scout team for our women's basketball team actually. And basically what we did there is a team of us guys who obviously all played in high school and were pretty competitive. We'd go scrimmage the girls team every single day and kind of act as if we were the other opposing team that they're going to be playing for that week, which was a pretty cool experience for me. It's a good first question though, Anthony. I appreciate it. And the next question is going to come from Carolina Reyes, and it asks, if you could redo your credit card setup, how would you go about it? Now, to be honest, I really don't think that I would change much about the way that I've started my credit card journey, mainly because I did get started with the Chase Freedom Student, which is the earliest credit card you can really get with Chase. And in doing so, it really set me up to get approved for every single card that I've applied for after that with Chase and with other lenders too. If I was somebody that was just out of college and had no previous credit history and I needed to start somewhere and wanted to eventually go in with Chase, I'd probably try to start with the Discover It cashback card, and if I couldn't get that one, I'd just get the secured version because they're the easiest to get approved for first and build that credit history. And then I would start getting as many Chase cards as I could or wanted to get before I was above 524. And for those of y'all that don't know, the 524 status basically just states that if you've gotten 5 or more personal credit cards in the past 24 months with any lender, Chase is going to automatically deny you for your next card application with them. So for me personally, I don't think I would change my setup at all, but I would definitely recommend that everybody get started with Chase as soon as they can, and then eventually graduate up to other lenders like Amex, for example, once you have a few cards under your belt and don't have to worry about keeping cards open with high annual fees like cards from Amex forever. The next question comes from Caesar, who is very active in the overall credit card community in general, so I always appreciate having him in the channel. And his question is, if you could only have one credit card, what would it be? Now, it's a pretty hard question to only nail it down to one credit card in particular, but I don't think my answer would really surprise you. I think I would go with the Chase Freedom Unlimited, mainly because it's a good catch-all card at 1.5x, but it also will give you those 3x back on dining, on drugstores, and 5x back on travel through Chase's portal. However, maybe that's not the best answer because technically you could get a 3x card like the Wells Fargo autograph card or the Capital One Saver one maybe. You know what, honestly, I might revise my answer completely away from all of those and go with the City Premier card actually. I think it'd be pretty easy to get positive value from that card every year, and it has some of the highest earning categories for a mid-tier travel card that I've ever seen. So actually, I'm going to revise my answer. I'm going to say that the City Premier card would be the card that I would go with if I could only have one. The next question here comes from Bob, and he asks, with the points and miles game and cashback credit card space changing so quickly, what new trends do you see in the future for credit cards in 2023? Now, to answer this question, I would have to say that in my opinion, I think that the Built Rewards MasterCard is going to actually change the credit card game for the better. And the reason I say that is because they are the first credit card to offer you any kind of rewards for basically housing purchases in general. Obviously, right now they only offer 1x back on rent, but eventually they say that they plan on adding mortgages to that as well, which is obviously a game changer. And I think if we start to see credit cards adding in bigger categories that we spend in, like housing and transportation, that's going to be a big change in the credit card game. I just hope that products like Built keep coming out so it pushes the other bigger lenders to make changes to their cards down the line too. Now, at the end of the day, I'm really just a fan of any competition we get among the lenders because the more they compete with each other, the better the rewards we get. I mean, that's kind of the whole point of not creating a monopoly with just businesses in general, but especially in the credit card space, the more that we have the ability to choose from different lenders to get the best rewards possible, the better for the consumer. The next question comes from Madison Bailey, and she asks, how do you manage to maintain a YouTube channel while also having a full-time job? Now, this is a really good question because honestly, it's not very easy to do this. So the way I kind of parse my time out is that obviously most of my work week is filled with my actual corporate job. And then in the evenings of work weekdays, as well as on the weekend, I try to be as productive as I can. That way I can still push out a video while just also working a full-time job. But one tool, I guess you can call it, that I use very regularly to help boost my productivity and get me into the flow state faster is going to be Magic Mind, which I have talked about multiple times here on the channel. In all reality, I do need some kind of productivity boost, especially towards the end of the week when I'm feeling pretty stretched thin. And to be honest, Magic Mind is one of those products that has helped me a lot whenever it comes to getting that productivity to the highest level that it can possibly be, in addition to as fast as possible as well. Usually, basically right away, I can kind of tell the effects that Magic Mind has on my body, and all I can really say is that it really helps me dive into that flow state whenever I'm feeling very non-motivated. And since I really do like this company, I have partnered up with them, so if you want to get 20% off of your first order with Magic Mind, go ahead and use my code Spencer20 at checkout or the link in my description. Funny enough, the next question also comes from Anthony Venture once again, but he asked what's my favorite energy drink and why. And when I would say what my favorite energy drink is, y'all know it's become an ongoing joke within our little community here that I like to drink Celsiuses a lot. It's really only a weekend treat for me, so don't go crazy on me in the comments here, but to be honest with you, I do actually use Magic Mind quite a bit, especially on the weekends when I want to get some more creative work done. As for a strictly caffeinated beverage though, which Magic Mind has none of in it, I do choose to usually go with Celsius at the gas station. The next question comes from Natalie Frontera, and she asks, can you tell us more about how you use or redeem your Chase rewards points and for what? So for me, I'm one of those people that really likes to get the most value from my points possible. So what I usually do is just stockpile all of my Chase points until I'm ready to book some kind of trip with them. And rather than just booking those trips through the Chase Ultimate Rewards portal, since I do have the Chase Sapphire Preferred card, that allows me to pull all of the points I have from my other Chase Ultimate Reward point earning cards and transfer those over to the Chase Sapphire Preferred, and then I can transfer those points from the Chase Sapphire Preferred out to travel partners to get the most value for my points. Now for me, so far, most if not all of my bookings have actually been with Hyatt, and the reason for that is because Hyatt is one of the most valuable point currencies that there is out there, and being that Chase, and I guess Built now technically too, are the only two companies that allow you to transfer your points to Hyatt directly, I never hesitate to transfer some of my points from my Chase Sapphire Preferred to Hyatt if I find a booking that I really like. Other than that though, I guess I do fly somewhat often domestically, and I usually fly with Southwest, so technically I can transfer my points from my Chase Sapphire Preferred out to Southwest as well, but granted I'm not going to get as high redemption rates with that. But at the end of the day, if it helps me to not have to pay out of pocket for a trip that I'm needing to take anyways, I'm probably going to do that any day of the week, as long as it's more than 1 cent per point in value that I'm getting. And the next question comes from He611, and what they ask is, as a fellow engineer, if you didn't pick to study engineering, what career do you think you would have chosen? Now to be honest, I kind of figured out a little bit late in the game that I really did like finance in general. What that caused me to do in college is add a business minor on top of my civil engineering major. So I feel like that little bit of a taste into the business world actually kind of spurred me to do a lot of my own things, like start this YouTube channel, for example. So as for direct career paths, I probably would have ended up somewhere in the finance world, but I honestly really love filming these YouTube videos for y'all, and I wish that I could do it full time, and hopefully one day I will be able to. So if you haven't liked this video or subscribed yet, you got to do it, I guess, right? I'm always here for a good guilt trip. That's a good question though, so thanks for asking that. He also asks, if I can only pick one card issuer for the rest of my life, who would I choose? I don't think this comes as a shock to many people, but I would definitely choose Chase personally. This also kind of goes back to my conversation I had with Luke from Luke's Points and Miles on my channel if you haven't seen that video yet. But it's really hard to pick a lender like Amex in this kind of example because obviously Amex isn't accepted everywhere. I feel like the top two lenders are Chase and Amex though, but if I had to go for a broad all-encompassing setup, I would probably choose Chase, mainly because I could use it anywhere in the world and also have some pretty good earning categories, especially if you included their co-branded cards as part of this question. But if you just gave me one Visa card and then after that I could choose one lender, I'd honestly maybe go with Amex instead. I know that's crazy coming from me, but Amex does have some really solid cards, especially as you get higher and higher into the credit card game. So that'd definitely be one of my top options. The next question comes from Robert Dorff, who is another very active community member in this credit card space. And what he asks is, what new products am I most looking forward to? Now, the only ones I can think of right now for new products are going to be coming from Citi, and those would be those Strava cards or whatever they're planning on branding those as. So I guess I'm most excited for those. My one hitch with those is that I know that Citi oftentimes does something to make the card not super desirable to me. I don't know if that makes any sense to y'all, but for example, like the Citi Custom Cash, I do think it's a card that everybody should get. I'm not saying it's a bad card. The fact they took away certain MasterCard benefits like the cell phone protection that comes with MasterCard normally makes me a little bit hesitant to apply for more of their cards down the line. It just kind of seems like sometimes they try to nickel and dime you a little bit, which I'm obviously not a huge fan of. As for new products though, I mean, like I said earlier, I would like to see some companies kind of implement their own spin on what Built is doing in the rent game. So maybe one of the big lenders will do that eventually. I mean, I feel like they still have a pretty good chokehold on the entire market in general, so maybe they won't do it yet. But even if Built added something like mortgages to their credit card, I think that would be a massive change to the credit card space, and I hope they would do that in 2023. The next question comes from Matt Welter, who is a fellow credit card content creator, and he asks, what do you think your sub count will be when you financially can realistically take your YouTube channel full time? Now that's a really good question, honestly. As I mentioned earlier, this is something that I would love to be able to do full time, but obviously I need the finances behind me to be able to do that. As for a particular sub count, I'm not exactly sure what that would be, to be honest. In the rough calculations that I did in a spreadsheet a while ago to see when I would be able to take this full time, on top of being able to somewhat rely on some sponsorships and affiliate income as well, I think I estimated that I would need something like 67,000 views a month, where the AdSense would be decent enough for me to be able to take this full time with those other things being considered as well. It's not necessarily anything super crazy. It's just that right now I still am a smaller channel, so to get that many views on long form content consistently is a tough task. But like I said, this is what I really love to do, and I'm going to keep trying to make it a full-time job if possible. The next question comes from Jason Torres, who asks a very easy question, and he just asks, how are you liking post-college working life? Now I will say that it's very different from the college life. I just feel like I have a lot less free time in general, which obviously makes sense, and I am enjoying the extra responsibility that I have on my plate, and I'm obviously enjoying the money that I have coming in, but I'm also still trying to find something that brings me a ton of purpose, which this YouTube channel is bringing me. So trying to balance that full-time job while also trying to kind of part-time do something that I really love. It's been difficult so far, but it's also been very rewarding whenever I get to talk to y'all in videos like this, because it shows me that what I'm doing actually does make a difference in some people's lives, and just brings me joy all around to be able to make connections with great folks like you. And this next question comes from Sledge Inc. team, who also has a YouTube channel himself now, if you want to go check that out too. But his question is going to be, where do you want to take your first aspirational trip using all credit card points? Now that's a great question. I have a lot of different things that I want to do with my credit card points over time. I think one aspirational trip that I've had for quite a while is actually to go to Australia. I know it's kind of an interesting one. I feel like that's not necessarily one that people talk about all the time, but it's definitely a trip I want to take, and being able to fly there and stay there with only points would be a dream come true. I've also heard you can get some pretty sweet redemptions when traveling to Japan in business or first class, and that's another thing I want to do one day. I think I actually talked about that with Chase Yokoyama in our conversation, which I also recorded on my channel to watch after this if you want to as well. But I think my first actual aspirational trip I might take using all credit card points is going to be to Europe in May, which is what the plan is right now, but I'm not sure still if that trip is actually going to happen or not. It's with my family, so there's a lot of plans up in the air, but I would definitely use my points to fly there and back for free. As for the hotel situation, I imagine my family might pitch in to help pay for that, and then I wouldn't use my points necessarily for that, which would be great either way. But to be able to travel to Europe completely for free just off of my credit card points would be pretty insane. The next question comes from EW, who has been featured in many of these Q&As in the past, and they ask, how do you separate what cards you apply for the channel and for my own personal usage, or is it all the same to you? Now the way I interpret this question, which may be wrong, is that you're asking how I actually decide what cards to apply for, like strictly for the content purposes versus just for my personal use. Now for me right now, it really is all the same to me, as you mentioned. My whole goal with the channel was to be able to share and document my process as I went through it. So although it seems I am applying for cards really fast and getting a bunch of different cards very quickly, I would be doing that in my personal life either way. So I thought, why would I not just share that with y'all and also just help y'all experience the credit card game in a beneficial way as well? So to answer your question, if that is what your question was asking, I don't differentiate those at all right now, but I'm sure over time I'll be going for those high annual fee cards that I might only use for the year and kind of just review for the channel. That would be kind of cool. But for right now, I'm still building out my core credit card setup. This next question comes from Kevin Yang, who's another great creator in this credit card and personal finance niche. And he has two separate questions. The first of which being, if you were to pick 3 things you wish you knew when you started a credit card and personal finance YouTube channel, what would they be? I'll answer that one first, then we'll come back to the second one. But to answer that question, I think the first thing that I wish I knew when I started the channel is just how knowledgeable the people in this space are about credit cards. And I'm definitely trying to say that as a good thing. It's insane how much I can learn from you guys just in the comment sections alone, not just on my channel, but on other people's channels as well. The second thing would probably just be how inviting actually the entire credit card community is, creators as well as the subscribers. I feel like I very rarely get negative comments on my channel, and if I do, it usually comes from my short form content, ironically. But to see just how welcoming y'all were to me coming into the credit card space brand new, it was pretty awesome. And that's obviously part of the reason why I wanted to start this creator conversations series on my channel as well, is because I feel like there are a lot of great people in this space that I just want to talk more to, and I figured if I invited people to talk on camera while we're also making content together. That would just give me an excuse to talk to some really cool people, which I'm really loving doing. The third thing I wish I knew, even though it wasn't necessarily something that I could have known at the time, is just how to be even more patient when it comes to finding success on YouTube. I fully expected this channel to take a long time to even hit 1,000 subscribers, and we've blown away all of my expectations so far. But now that I've kind of moved those goalposts, and what I want to do now is basically take this full time, I'm pretty impatient when it comes to that, and I'm trying to work on that. But at the same time, I also want to be able to take a chance on myself while I'm young enough to be able to do that. And a second question asks, when could I see myself jumping ship into full-time YouTube? Now, I did kind of already talk about this with Matt Welter's question, but my goal right now is basically just to be able to cover my monthly expenses, and that's really it. I feel like my channel will continue to grow, especially whenever I'm putting more effort and more time into the channel. So if I could get to the point where my channel income is covering my monthly expenses, I don't see why I wouldn't take the plunge and take a chance on myself in this business. The hard part right now is that I just have such massive expenses, especially when it comes to just rent in Austin, for example. So I'm strongly considering even moving home for a little bit and trying to save up as much money as I can so that I could actually take this channel full time. I don't know exactly what's going to happen with that, but it is something I'm really considering. So once again, if anybody wants to support your boy on that journey, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel as always. And the next question comes from Angel Torres, and he asks, do you have a card that you regret applying for? Now, as I kind of talked about at the very beginning, I really don't regret anything I've done in the credit card game, and I really wouldn't change my setup at all. I think I got started in the right way by getting started with Chase cards. I built out my Chase trifecta first, then I got the Amex Gold because I spent so much money on food. After that, I got the City Custom Cash to cover gas because the Amex Gold card and Chase cards don't cover gas in any regards. And now I'm kind of adding in cards on the business side to farm my 524 status and accumulate a lot of points, while I'm now going to be applying for luxury travel credit cards and starting to dive in more into the credit card game in general. Outside of just the core credit card setup, I need to cover all of my daily spending very well. The next question comes from Kay, who is the first commenter on my entire channel. That's a fun fact for y'all, but I will never forget that because it was a great feeling to get that first comment, I'll tell you that. But her question is, what card do you think is really underrated or overrated? You know, this one's pretty difficult too. I don't know why I can't necessarily think of one card in particular that's either underrated or overrated right now. I think one that kind of got a little bit of a moment of glory but has not been talked about at all in recent past is the Wells Fargo autograph card. Now, I know y'all are going to freak out about that one because it's a Wells Fargo card and basically nobody's a fan of them right now, it seems. But I think this card is actually really good for a vast majority of people who don't care so much about the credit card game as we do. And to be fair, it gives you 3x in a lot of different categories, and if you're able to just redeem those points for cash back and keep it really simple, I think that's really good for a lot of people. Now, am I yelling at people to go apply for this card if they ask me what my recommendations are? Not necessarily, but I do think that it could get a little bit more love, especially if you're talking to people who just don't care for the credit card game as much as we do. The next question comes from Chad's Money Minutes, who has a great channel on credit cards as well, and he asks, how has your success and participation in the community changed the way you think about content creation? I think I maybe kind of answered that one already as well too, but I will just say once again that the collaborations that I've had with people so far have been some of the best things that I've taken away from YouTube. Being able to not only chat with the subscribers in the comment section, but also other creators is what kind of inspired me to start that credit conversations series that I started on my channel. I just really enjoy getting to know y'all on a more personal level, and I look forward to being able to continue to foster those relationships going forward. And for how success has kind of changed the way I think about content creation, I think what it's given me is the ability to want to try out different things on my channel because I see that what I'm doing so far has been working, and I feel like the community that we're building is becoming really tight-knit, which I really love. So having that core foundation of people like y'all on my channel that have been there since the beginning allows me to try out different things like this credit conversations series and shape this channel into something that's completely different from everybody else's, but still very valuable and entertaining at the same time. Stan, I'm sorry to have made you wait this long for me to answer your question, but yours is for some reason at the very top. But Stan is also another content creator and somebody that I've been talking to since the very beginning of my channel, so I owe a lot of my success to him and his help as well. But his question is, when do I think I'll add a card like the Amex Platinum to my setup? And when I do, which platinum will I get first? Now, that's a great question. I mean, kind of like I talked about earlier, I'm getting to that stage where I can start to add in cards that are a little bit more luxury because I've kind of built out that core credit card setup. Obviously, I have to be cognizant of my 524 status, which is why I'm applying for a lot of business cards, but I am starting to edge into the luxury travel credit card game a little bit now. As I've also mentioned multiple times on my channel so far, I'm going to be starting with the Capital One Venture X, and I hope to be applying for that card really soon. Maybe I already did before this video is out, I'm not sure. So I won't be rushing to get the platinum card anytime soon because I'll already have one of the higher end credit cards. But when I do, I know that at some point I want to apply for the Amex Platinum Charles Schwab version because I do have a Charles Schwab brokerage account. And for those of y'all that don't know, Amex membership rewards points in cashback form are only worth 0.6 cents per point normally. But with the Charles Schwab version of the Amex Platinum card, you can cash out all of your Amex membership rewards points points into your Charles Schwab brokerage account for 1.1 cents per point, which drastically increases the value of those points. Now, will I still be using a majority of my points for travel? Yes, but the ability to be able to transfer those points into my brokerage account and redeem for cash at 1.1 cents per point is something that shouldn't be overlooked. I never know how my credit card setup will change down the line, and maybe I will redeem for cash back a lot more frequently. So I don't know if I will apply for that one before the vanilla version. I likely will, but even if I don't, I will be getting the Amex Platinum Charles Schwab version at some point in the future. I already know that's going to be a super long video, so I really appreciate all of y'all sticking around and watching to the end here. If you did enjoy this one and the more conversational style flow that this video has, I would definitely recommend checking out my creator conversations playlist that I've been adding to in recent past and will continue to add to into the future, because I'm having conversations with some really great content creators that I'd love to share with y'all. And as always, Odin and I both want to say thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please consider leaving a like and subscribing to the channel, and we'll catch you guys next time.